I repeat again, the senator from Kentucky is now working for Vladimir Putin.
Hey guys, welcome to the Silver Report. Here we are, it's Thursday, March 16th, 2017. Technically, the debt ceiling locks back into place today. And so that seems to be one major fact a lot of people are attempting to ignore at this point. They don't want to discuss it. In fact, it seems like these investors have been so excited and pouring into the stock market recently. And, there's all this excitement about the tax cuts. We saw that Trump's travel ban 2.0 was just rejected by a Hawaiian judge. And what we are seeing here, the possibility of the U.S. default from this debt ceiling is greater than anyone really seems to be realizing. Investors are overlooking the risk the U.S. government can default, resulting from a failure of Congress to raise the debt ceiling. And it comes down to a couple important factors. Number one, when the Tea Party rode the wave into power, these were the candidates that we wanted in Congress and the Senate. In some part, it's been co-opted, and there's these rhino Republicans that have taken place and have jumped in there. I don't know who keeps voting for John McCain. This is insane. But what we see taking place is the fact that over the past few debt ceiling issues, they had formed a solid front. They had formed a resistance to any more debt. Because in all reality, it's not serviceable, it's not manageable, and since we have an interest rate increase, that's further pressures on the amount that is required to service this debt. Not even the debt, just to pay down the interest, just to keep the creditors at bay. And so what we're seeing, the markets are ignoring a couple different things. Number one, the opening cash balance this month was $189 billion for the U.S. government. The Treasury, they go through about $2 billion a day, and they have the ability to issue new debt. Net redemptions of existing debt not held by governments are running north of $100 billion a month. So we have Steve Mnuchin. He's acknowledged the coming deadline. He's the new Treasury Secretary. He's encouraging Congress that we need to raise this limit immediately. But really, what they need is to reach 218 votes in favor of raising or suspending the debt ceiling. It might be harder than any previous fiscal showdown. Donald Trump almost certainly wants to raise the ceiling because there's not much wiggle room. There's not much room to do anything, even though he did come out and in some of his speeches while he was campaigning back in 2013, Trump tweeted himself that he was embarrassed Republicans voted to extend the ceiling. But it's much different when you're faced with the reality that we have a broke government. They are broke. They do not have money. The only way they can operate is by continuously increasing the debt. But he might not have the votes. Republicans control 237 seats in the House. What we have is the Freedom Party, or the Tea Party wing of the party. They've been steadfastly refused to go along with increases. I love that video I posted this morning about Rand Paul when he went up and just dropped the mic on John McCain, because there has to come a time when principle means more than kicking this can down the road any longer. In all reality, we have to default on the debt. We cannot allow this to continue. The further this is allowed to procrastinate this situation, the worse it's going to be. And so the Republican Party, they're already facing a revolution, in a way, in the flanks, over the failure to offer a clean repeal to the Affordable Care Act. We have Senator Rand Paul. He's not very happy about this garbage that they're putting up. Pretty much Romney care. Many members of the resistance constitute the ultra-right Freedom Caucus, is what they're called, and they're willing to stand their ground during the previous debt ceiling showdowns, and so with 29 members, it means they might only have 208 votes to raise the ceiling. That's not enough to get this across. So it's very realistic In fact, it might be really unrealistic to see any Democrats vote for Donald Trump anything he wants to do. They want to watch this collapse. And so we're facing the grim reality that our government, folks, I'm sorry, is just out of money. The money's gone. We operate on borrowed money. America is bankrupt. And we've been trying to ignore this problem, trying to ignore this reality of the economic situation in our country. Bleeding GDP, staggering low workplace participation rates. And it's mostly because you make more on welfare than you do working these days. Lowering wages. Wage numbers are dropping. I mean, these House Democrats, they might be more than happy to sit back and watch the Republicans fight among themselves. If the Democrats eventually ride to the rescue, it probably won't be until after the period of Republican on Republican violence and massive turmoil and breakdown in the government. And in the good news, in the light news that is coming out, we see that despite this catastrophe that is just waiting to collapse, here we are, March 16th. Debt ceiling locks in. No money left. That's what they say. It would be ideal if both sides could come together. I don't think so. Enough is enough. No more debt is what we need to say. The consequences will be bad, but we have to realize that the problem doesn't get better by borrowing more and more. It gets much, much worse. When it comes time to lose, we'll lose everything. Donald Trump is proposing a 30% cut to the State Department. It's really looking on shaking up the budget. This might be why there's so many programs coming out on these mainstream propaganda networks like ABC discussing how they need to stop this dictator. It's probably why there's so much wordplay going on to try to rise up a militant force, because now he's getting into their paychecks. Now he wants to get in and lower the amount of employees working in the State Department. And that's what we really need. The real problem, despite the mounting debt that is ready to collapse and to shut down our entire government right now. People don't even realize the extremes of the situation we're in. But at the same time, he's digging into their pockets, and they don't like that. And you must be very careful with what they're willing to do to stop these kind of things from happening, because you're really cutting into their pay. All right, thank you guys for joining me here on the Silver Report. If you like the content, be sure to subscribe, like the videos, share the videos. I thank you guys all so much for stopping by. As always, stay safe.